We were still live that whole time. Did you say anything? What did I miss?
Well, basically what I saw was your frozen face for about 30 seconds, and then I got kicked into a waiting room.
Oh, okay.
Not sure.
You were actually, I checked on the app or on Facebook. You were still there broadcasting. So, hey,
just
thanks
broadcasting
everyone.
Silently.
Yeah, thanks everyone for welcome to our episode today. I just right as we went live, I had an internet crash. So, hey, we're live, everybody. Please join the show. I can see we've got people watching on YouTube. So go ahead and comment. That's join the show. This is very interactive. But today, do you wonder if it's safe to stay on the keto diet forever? Stick around because this show's for you. You guys, I'm so excited today. I've got a very special guest co-host. By the way, this is Keto Chat Live. I'm your host, Carole Freeman. I've got lots of degrees in nutrition and psychology. I'm also a board-certified keto nutrition specialist. And you guys, today, the special guest co-host is Valorie Moses. Welcome, Valorie.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Susan is here. Welcome, Susan, from Chicago, right on time. Excellent.
One of the Sues. Hi, Sue.
Yes. Valerie's been one of the weekly viewers, and she got promoted to co-host. So, this is a new person, literally Erica. Hi from Charleston. Awesome. Hey, Erica. How's it going?
Hello.
Valorie, you want to give us a quick little intro? Who are you?
I'm happy to. So I'm the quintessential working mom of three who has recently started really having some major success with keto. And so I've been talking about it with friends and family, and I'm glad to be here today to talk to you about it.
Excellent. Well, the official co-host role is the person who reads our medical disclaimer for the show. So you want to give that a stab?
Oh, this is a big privilege. I'm ready. Okay. This show is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's not medical advice. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure any conditions. And if you have any medical condition, illness, disease, or are taking any medications, please still enjoy this podcast, but make sure you have donned your cautious galoshes. If you've got is there a rain boot emoji? Can someone drop that below if there is one?
Oh, there's gotta be. I bet there is.
And seriously, if you have any questions or concerns related to your medical conditions, make sure those go to a medical professional.
Yay! Good job. You get a raise. You did great with that. I love the cautious galoshes. I'm going to add that. We've got all these catchphrases that have come up on the show, and I'm going to write that one. I love it. Cautious galoshes.
It's the same thing as like wearing your adult pants or all those other things. Cautious galoshes. It's raining out here.
I love that. Oh my gosh. You're perfect co-host. I love it. All right. All right. So question for the viewers. How long have you been following low carb keto diet? This is an interactive show. If you're new here, literally, Erica, I think you might be new. I don't remember seeing you before. So welcome. But we like to make this an interactive show. So, let us know how long you've been following low carb keto, or if you're just a keto curious person. But welcome. Well, up next, we're going to do a little personal check-in. I had to have Valorie come on here because she's so funny in the comments watching this, but also she's had some really big success, and she's been doing some really cool experimentation with our blood glucose. So I wanted her to come on and share. So you tell a little bit more about, before we do that, because that's going to be a little bit longer one, I just want to brag that Keto Chat Live, we're rising, we're moving up the charts, and we're up to number 57 in nutrition podcast in Greece still. I still love that. That's such a parallel that keto is known for being a higher fat diet, and in Greece is where we're trending. But literally, Erica is a literally keto curious person. I've seen it work for so many people. Well, awesome. Welcome. Glad you're here. I'm going to keep calling her literally Erica. Excellent. Susan has been keto since May 1, 2020. Nice job. Excellent. All right. Greece. What's up, Greece? I haven't had anybody live in Greece. I don't know what the time difference is, but like one of these days, hopefully we get a live person there that's been making us go up the charts. So
yeah, it might be 3:00 in the morning there or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look
There
it
are
up.
some really wonderful keto foods that are Greek foods. So
Have you ever been to Greece, Valorie?
I have not. I would love to go. I've only seen pictures, so I visit in my dreams.
A couple of friends that I went to nutrition school with, one of the summers, they took a trip over there for a culinary adventure. And one of the girls met her husband, her now husband. I think they've been married almost 9 or 10 years now, but what an adventure. Oh, here we go. Literally, Erica says it's 2:09 a.m. in Greece. Okay, well, maybe there's some late night owls that may be up still listening, but I'm guessing they're probably mostly listening in the audio only podcast version of that. So welcome, future Greece listeners. We're so glad, but we like all the other people around the world listeners as well too. So all right, before I so rudely interrupted Valerie's sharing of her success, so tell us about your keto journey, your success that you've had. How long have you been doing keto yourself?
Sure. And I think you very kindly interrupted. So thank you for that. We'll take a sip of water here. Well, it's water as far as you know.
This show is all about kindly, funnily interrupting each other. So that's
yes. So I really, so around the April timeframe was when I really started paying some pretty close attention to it. But I'll tell you, these last 4 weeks or so is where I've been uber focused on it and really having some big successes and learning some super cool stuff that may be very specific to only a certain subsection of people. But I think some people, probably are finding some of the same things that I do. So I'm pretty excited to share some of the experimentation that I've been doing in the keto space to sort of optimize it for what Val's body needs. But yeah. I think it'll spark some good ideas. And thank you for allowing me the platform to spew all of my just kind of experience with it. And this is going to be super fun.
What about no better place to spew keto knowledge?
If you're going to spew into this. Name that movie if anybody knows what movie that came from. It's a movie quote. It's a comedy.
We always, hallmarks of the show is we always have at least one movie reference and one musical reference. So we're checking the box for a movie reference right now. So that's our trivia right now is going to be, what movie did Valorie just quote? Let's see who can get it.
It's a Dixie cup. If you're going to spew into this.
Oh.
See who gets it.
See,
you're remembering it.
I am. I'm like, I think that's ringing a bell. I'm getting something from the 80s, I think. So, okay. Well, we'll review. She'll review later. So, put your guesses in the comments about what movie did Valorie just quote? Well, so you're doing some blood sugar testing. So you'd shared with me originally that you started to notice that stress had a really big impact on your blood sugar. So tell us a little bit more about how you figured that out.
Well, I want to say that I figured it out by accident, but maybe kind of not, because I very purposely decided to monitor my blood glucose. I was, just kind of reading some literature that talked about how different foods, even in the keto space, can affect different people. And I thought, I had an inkling that maybe some of the keto-friendly sweeteners were sabotaging me a little bit. I'm like, I'm putting, this special stuff into my iced coffee to sweeten it up a little. It's got stevia and monk fruit. It should be fine. But I found that all of a sudden I stopped making progress when I started doing that. So I thought, let me take a look at this blood sugar. So I've been wearing a continuous blood glucose monitor. And so Erica says Bill and Ted. Close.
It's so close. Okay, we got a close guess for the movie trivia here.
I love that she's not looking it up, though. She's not cheating. She's going for it. So continuous glucose monitoring. It's like this cool little thing that I wear on the back of my arm that looks like a button. And, for a couple of weeks at a time, it gives you an every 6 minutes or so blood glucose reading. And I'm thinking, all right, I think I can use this data for the powers of good. And I decided to go ahead and have some of that coffee, the iced coffee, with the keto-friendly syrup in it.
Well, go ahead and mention what it is specifically. Now, we're not going to say that like, this is a bad product or anything.
Yes.
This is Valerie's experience. And so part of this is to show that how individual everyone is. And even though something is technically sugar-free, 0 carbs, that may not mean that it's actually keto friendly. So that's why this testing is so valuable, because everybody's different. So
well, that's a good point. Okay, I'm not trashing Tarani Pure Made syrup, but that was the one I used.
Yeah, because ingredient wise, it looks like it should be
clean.
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
Totally. Stevia and monk fruit in that particular type. And so I put half a serving. I didn't even use the whole serving. I tested my blood glucose about 30 minutes after having, that drink, and it had already spiked my blood glucose more than my meals do. And by the time 1 hour passed, it had gone up 20 points, which if you don't know like whether that's a big spike or not, it's a big spike. That's a really big difference. My meals don't even do that.
Well, and just to clarify also, she didn't have any food with it. So she's just comparing it to when she did eat. So just coffee, just the syrup, that's it.
Yeah. And so that's what happened to me. And then I thought, aha, I'm like literally onto something here, because, and Carole can tell you more about this, but when your blood glucose spikes, you have an insulin response. And if you're constantly having an insulin response, you're going to sabotage what it is that you're doing. So I figured out one thing. The next day, I figured out something else, and it all stemmed from a bad meeting at work. I will not tell you where I work, though. We'll talk about Tarani syrup, but I work a job that, maybe there are some meetings that put a little pressure on me, and I feel like I, have a stressful moment. And I found that my blood glucose spiked quite a bit, just as much as if I ate a meal, just because of a contentious sort of, like a little bit stressy, depressy kind of work meeting. And I thought, okay, I figured a really important second thing out. And that's that even with, I was not intaking any food or drinking anything besides water, I had a stressful meeting. My blood glucose spiked more than 10 points and took a little while to kind of calm down. And, maybe we can mention at some point what some things you can do to calm yourself down. But the point is that stress can sort of sabotage the goals that you're trying to meet as well. And you have to put in some, risk mitigating factors in there that'll help you when those things happen, if you happen to know that about yourself. And I love how self-aware this glucose monitor is helping me be. I'm really enjoying, kind of the data I'm able to pull off of it, and how I'm able to change some things in my daily routine, to meet my goals.
Oh, that's great. And that's something that I have in my teachings for my clients, is a section I call the Ketosis Killers, and talk about how stress, just physiologically, stress raises our blood glucose. And it's all hypothetical and theoretical until somebody actually can see that change for themselves. So I love that you're doing this experiment and have the real data to be able to see that that's true. And do you want to share then the next thing you discovered about like how you could actually, through some relaxation techniques, stress management techniques, that you were able to quickly get it to come back down to a normal level?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing, now that you've talked about Greece, I feel like I should download a couple really beautiful pictures of Greece, so I could do like this vacation ideation and use that for a relaxation technique. But I just, some of the things that work for me, the Navy SEALs do this thing called box breathing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Breathing techniques are really effective across the board. I like that particular one because it's on a 4 count. So it makes you feel like you're doing some kind of cadence. And it really did bring my blood glucose down. And it's just where you take in a 4 count breath and fill up your lungs, and then you hold it for 4 seconds, and then you let it out for 4 seconds, and then you hold it out for 4 seconds. And so you see how that sort of forms that box, and it just calms you right down. 3 cycles of it takes you a minute and 20 seconds or so to do a few cycles, and that will help you just kind of focus. You get out of that fight or flight mode, like there's no saber-toothed tigers in the room and we don't have to run. You can go down blood glucose, please. Like, I don't need you right now. Go away. I have goals. So that's kind of one thing. And just, sometimes you can just kind of close your eyes and just imagine yourself on a beach for a few minutes. I love getting away from my desk while I'm working. Box breathing is Erica's jam, she says.
Yeah, hashtag.
Hashtag box breathing is my jam.
Hashtag BBIMJ. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. But I love even just walking away from what's stressing me out. So you have to finish the meeting, but when it's over, go somewhere else in a different room. Don't be in your office. And, even a 5-10 minute walk can calm things down. And if you can't handle that stuff, look up some good dad jokes. Like, you just read these simple little things that, that make you laugh, because laughter is pretty much an immediate, I don't want to say cure, but it can calm you down. It breaks you kind of out of that cycle of that stressed out feeling. So, you just tell yourself, hey, I just bought myself a new blindfold, but I can't see myself wearing it. And then you're like, wah, wah, and you laugh. Yeah. It does a little something for you, right? And so you have to immediately find something that's calming or joyful, and it'll start reversing that. Because when I did go breathe, kind of stretch, and just, read a little something funny, within 10 minutes, the blood glucose had gone down 12 points when I retested. And I can't ignore that kind of data. Yeah. That's why I wanted to share it.
Susan's saying that lack of sleep and stress spikes her blood glucose too. I noticed this when I tested after a Zoom call. As convenient as Zoom is, it can be very stressful for a lot of us too. Yeah. So in stress, it's not the primary topic of this episode. I'll cover it in more detail on another episode, but it's one of the most underrated things of being bad for our health, right? Like, a lot of us are here because we know that, eating lower carb, keto-ish for us, it confers some health benefits for us. But, not managing our stress is a whole other level of something that's really damaging to our health if we don't get that. If we spend too much time in the stress state versus mediating that by stress relaxation techniques, not stress relaxation techniques, like some of the ones like Valorie was mentioning there too. So, and Erica says, hashtag box breathing is my jam. Love that. And she also says, you mentioned images of Greece. Is there a relaxation technique tied to the pictures? Yeah, I'll go ahead and share that one. I'll teach this to my clients. I call it taking a imaginary vacation, like what do I call it? You're taking a virtual vacation. So I have a clinical certification in hypnotherapy, so basically trained to use it therapeutically and clinically with people too. But if you don't like the word hypnosis or hypnotherapy, just think of it as guided imagery and relaxation technique. It's all the same thing. It's basically getting your brain waves into a much different, beta, theta, delta, gamma. I don't remember the exact ones, but it's basically putting it into that relaxed state, which also your body goes into the opposite of stress mode as well. So the cool thing is your body cannot tell the difference between what you vividly imagine and what's actually happening in the moment. And so picture your favorite place to go on vacation. And it works really well too if you've got an image. So maybe your screensaver on your computer, maybe you've got a printed out photo, whatever way that you can remember that. And just take a few moments to close your eyes and vividly imagine that you're there. And the trick to this is you want to think about all 5 senses in that location as if you're really there. So you walk through like, okay, so what do you see? What are the colors, the shapes, the images all around you when you're there? We'll just keep saying Greece. We love Greece. What are the smells? What does it smell like? The ocean air, the trees, the flowers, the foliage, whatever. What does it smell like there? What does it feel like? What does it feel like on your skin? Maybe you're sitting someplace, maybe you're standing, maybe you're in, do they have beaches there? What the sand feels like on your feet, what the air feels like on your skin. What do you hear? What do you hear there? Are there birds? Are there rustling leaves? Are there, what else would be there? Other animals. Maybe you're in a village where there's cars driving by, mopeds or something like that. The last one is taste sensory. I often recommend you don't need to go there with this one too, because especially if we're not trying to imagine food to cope with stress. So I would just say use your 4 senses that are non-taste ones and just enjoy how that feels. And you literally can walk through all of this in a minute or two, and you're going to turn right off your stress. Just like it's a light switch, you've turned off the stress mode in your body. All right. So tell me in the comments, where did you go on your virtual vacation right then? This is something that anybody can do anytime, and no equipment necessary.
I'm now in Greece.
Okay.
We're doing the rest of the podcast from Greece. I can feel it.
Yeah. So Hasty Wolf, welcome to the show. Would you consider that a form of meditation? I feel like I go through the same journey when I attempt meditation. Yeah. So there's all these different terms and phrases for it, but it's basically about getting your brain waves into a relaxed state. That's the commonality. So that can be called meditation. It can be the breathing techniques that Valorie was talking about. It can be imagining you're going on a vacation somewhere, that you are on that vacation. Which I would just put a caveat here of like, going on a vacation may be stressful. So just imagine you're in the vacation spot and the relaxation thing. And it can be, watching or listening to guided imagery as well. It's all in that same category of effective relaxation techniques, and it has lots of overlap with meditation. So excellent.
Definitely don't imagine yourself packing your bags,
right.
and making the drive to the airport.
Yeah.
Going through TSA checks. Don't do any of that.
All the good parts of the vacation, none of the stress of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Let me know where you all went on vacation there. Valorie just went to Greece. I think I keep imagining Greece now as well too. So, all right. So, hey, let's get into the topic of today's teaching. So today's topic, a lot of the ideas I have for topics come from my clients. And so this, somebody asked this last week on one of my coaching calls, said, is it, I was out some family gathering or some friends, I don't remember the exact situation, but somebody was worried about her, saying, is it really safe to be on keto long-term? Can you really do that long-term? And so I said, that's a topic we got to talk about on the podcast. Oh, Machu Picchu. Oh, how beautiful. Did you get tired? Now I'm imagining not walking up the stairs. That would be the stressful part of it, but just the view that you get there, right? And the peace and the tranquility. I've heard that's a very magical place. So
yeah, you can sort of meditate while you're walking up the stairs. Just kind of keep a little cadence, like Machu Picchu, Machu Picchu. I feel like that's meditative a little, or maybe it's like I'm wanting to dance. I don't know.
Oh, that's good. I wonder if that's how people make it up those stairs. I don't even know how many stairs there are, but I've seen photos. I've heard it's a very magical, mystical, it's just a serene place to be. So there's something about there that's healing. I've heard. I've never been. So
good one.
Yeah. So today's topic, really, I want to cover it's kind of a myth, actually. Here's the spoiler alert: is that the real goal of a keto diet is not to be in ketosis forever. Okay. So, here's a few myths about what a keto diet is. So, number one myth is that the goal of a keto diet is to get into ketosis and stay in ketosis forever. Number two myth about a keto diet is if you're in ketosis, that means you're losing weight. And if you stay in ketosis, that's going to keep you losing weight and keep the weight off. Not true. And also, number three myth is that trying to stay in ketosis forever is the healthiest thing for everyone to do, and you should stay in that state forever. like pausing for a question here. So literally Erica says, can we get a 30-second on what keto is? I'd just like to hear an expert's synopsis. Yeah, I'll plug that in here really quickly. So basically, keto is eating in a way that does promote ketones in the blood. The primary way that you're going to achieve that is by keeping carbohydrates very low, the carbohydrates that you eat. And then that turns on an alternate fuel source in the body where you're actually burning your body's fat or the fat that you're eating. And you're also making ketones as a alternate fuel source. So that's kind of the short of what keto diet is. And it's found to be a very effective weight loss strategy for people that are metabolically unhealthy, which very much fits into the topic of today. And most of the people that are following it, when they do it correctly, they find that compared to other weight loss diets where they're counting calories, they're trying to do low fat, they find that their appetite goes away, their cravings go away, they have more energy than they've ever had, and they're just no longer obsessed with food. And then when they do eat a meal, it's more satiating. A different level of satiety comes about rather than anybody here done a low fat diet where no matter how much you eat, you still feel this gnawing in your stomach and you're so food obsessed. So Eric is saying, I only knew one of those things. Excellent. Yeah. Well, glad I could help you out. So, all right. So I covered the myths about the keto diet. Okay. So busting myths, that's what I love to do. And so the truth of the keto diet, at least this is what my goal is for my clients. And again, I'm medically certified. I'm a board certified keto nutrition specialist. I've got all the degrees and all that. And so I've been studying this and working with clients for over 6 years now. And so when done correctly, and this is my goal with my clients, is the goal is actually to get them metabolically healthy. And it's not to be in ketosis and stay in ketosis every moment. So Valorie can attest that for most people, I don't even have them testing ketones because that's not the primary goal of what we're doing. Now, the goal is to follow low carb, keto for some people if they need that low of carbohydrate intake. So, and just for Eric and anyone else that's wondering too, the difference between low carb and keto is that typically for keto, we're having people do 20 total grams of carbs a day or less. Whereas low carb can be anywhere, like there's no standard definition of that. So low carb could be 200, 100 grams of carbs a day, 60, 80, 40. Like low carb is just, reduced carb basically is what low carb would be called. So, so my goal with working with my clients is get them to be metabolically healthy. And I'll talk about here in a moment, like, okay, so what does that mean? What is metabolically healthy? Being as healthy as possible. So basically your metabolism, your metabolic function is how your body makes energy from the food you eat and from the storage sources in your body. That's kind of the short version of like, what is our metabolism? What is metabolic health? If your body can very easily take whatever you eat, whatever's stored in your body and make the energy and have energy readily available for you to use, and also you don't have elevations of blood glucose, your lab markers are in the healthy range as well. That's a sign of a healthy metabolism. So here are some signs that your metabolism is healthy, is that if you skip a meal, if you go, you could go a whole day, you're not going to crash and burn, you don't get hangry. So one sign of poor metabolic health is that if you skip a meal, you get ravenously hungry and you get what we call hangry, which is the hungry, angry together. Another sign is that if you eat something high carb, you crash and burn soon afterwards. Your body can't tolerate high carb foods, meaning you get a high energy and then within 30 to 60 minutes, you're ready to take a nap. That's a sign that your body can't tolerate that. It's not able to intake any type of food and process it and go back to burning the stored fat that you've got on your body too. So the way that our bodies are designed to work, if we were all metabolically healthy, if we could go back probably 200 to 400 years, what would happen is that while we're sleeping, our body is burning stored fat. And that when we wake up in the morning, most people would be in a mild state of ketosis, meaning that we're burning fat and we're also making these ketone bodies as another energy source. And we could go as long as we needed until food was available, and we still would be able to be burning our own body fat. Even if we're relatively lean person, we would have enough fat on our body to get by. And then whatever we ate, our body would digest that, process that, use the carbohydrates immediately for fuel, store the other stuff for fat for later. And as soon as that carbohydrate intake ran out, as we burned that off, then our body would just easily transition right back into burning our stored fat. That's the way we're designed to work. But the problem is that we've eaten so many refined carbohydrates for so long that our body is like, okay, you're going to feed me every 2 hours. I don't even need to worry about remembering how to burn my own fat. So it shuts off all the mechanisms, not completely. This is just, metaphorically, but it like shuts down all those enzymes and systems and everything. It basically is like, I don't even need to remember how to burn fat. And we're overeating and we're storing more fat than we are burning because it's shutting off that system. And so we get stuck in carb burning mode and we're constantly hungry. We have no energy. Our body's storing fat more than it's burning. And that's a recipe for feeling like crud. And so there's a bunch of different factors that go into that. It can be your lifetime of eating. It can also be genetic stuff that you've inherited. It can be epigenetics, what the environment was when you were in utero. So for example, if your mother had gestational diabetes or if she had elevated blood sugar, you're actually, unfortunately, starting out life with a harder time with getting metabolic health than you would if somebody would have been healthy the whole time. So we kind of so metabolic flexibility. Does that make sense, Valorie? Did I
think it makes sense. I mean, you talked about being metabolically healthy. So, I mean, can we talk about how we get there?
Yeah.
How do we get it? I want some of that.
I want it. What's the shortcut, right? Is there a pill I can take to get there? The couple of ways, symptoms that I mentioned are one way you can know like whether you are or aren't metabolically healthy. But for my clients, I'm, looking at those subjective things, but I'm also looking at some lab markers. There's some biomedical, so like measurements of your body physically that you can take. And then the final step of this is going to be some carb testing that you can do. Now, I'll say right now that not everybody's going to get there. It takes time. It can take 18 to 24 months of, for people, depending on where they're at in their poor metabolic health, it can take 18 to 24 months of being extremely low carb within that keto diet range for things to heal enough that you may be able to get some metabolic flexibility back. And for some people, you may never get to the point where you can eat a much higher carb diet. You may do best at a very, very low carb. So I know that I'm one of those people that probably indefinitely, 40 grams of carbs a day is probably going to be the most healthful for me. And I know this because of experimentations I've done and just continuing to monitor my own labs. I come from a family where diabetes is pretty prevalent and Alzheimer's. And so I'm okay with that. I'm happy to know, I feel empowered knowing I have a way of knowing how to keep myself as healthy as possible. I don't feel like, poor me, I'm missing out that I can't eat sugar every day. Like, no, I figured out what helps me feel better. So Valerie's question, how do we get there? Recommendations I have for my clients, is first thing starting out, at the beginning of your keto journey or wherever you're at right now is to get some starter metabolic labs. So those are going to be things like a lipid panel, fasting blood glucose, your A1C, fasting insulin. That's one that you're not going to be able to get from your doctor as well. So that's one you'll have to order on your own. And I also like to see CRP, which is a measure of inflammation, in the standard, CBC and CMP as well are just kind of standard labs that you get every time you get your labs done as well. But those are what I have my clients start with to get. And also, you're going to take those body measurements. So in the nutrition world, we call these biometrics, basically body measurements, what that means. So I want to see your blood pressure, your BMI, which is just a comparison of your height to your weight. I also would like to see, I'm going to add this in my notes here. So I would also like to see body fat percentage if you're able to get that. So commonly, that's going to be something that you'll get through a DEXA body analysis scan. That's a good one that's going to be very accurate measure of body fat percentage, as well as looking at your bone density and muscle mass. Waist measurement is another one as well that will really correlates to your metabolic health. So the poorer metabolic health you have, the bigger your waist is in comparison to your hips. And so we can see this on, men that get the beer belly. Okay. So that's actually a sign of poor metabolic health when you get that beer belly, is because your body's actually putting fat inside your body next to your organs. And that's actually the least healthy place for the fat to be stored. So if you've ever wondered, if you've seen somebody that looks lean everywhere else, but they've got that basketball belly, it actually means that their body can't store fat in the normal places very easily. And it just ends up storing it inside the body in the internal cavity as well. So waist measurement is a way of kind of monitoring like what that fat is that's in the middle of the body there too. So, and Susan's saying she tests blood glucose and ketones daily. I have a higher carb tolerance. I eat 40 to 45 to 50 net carbs a day and still in ketosis. You had a question, Valorie, or?
Yeah, I did have a couple of questions because you had mentioned getting some labs and a DEXA scan.
Yeah.
How do we get access to those things? You got any advice in that space? Because I would like to take some notes too.
Great questions. Yeah. Well, this is available to people. So there's like 3 states that you can't get this. So ownyourlabs.com. Here, I should do a little banner for that so that I'll plug. So Dave Feldman's website, ownyourlabs.com. Okay, you can go here and literally you get to order your own labs and go into a LabCorp facility and get your blood drawn, and you get the lab sent right back to you. So you get to own your own labs. And so it's not available in New York, New Jersey, and there's one other 2-letter state that's not available. It might be Rhode Island. I can't remember. But unfortunately, 3 states that this service is not available, but everywhere else in the United States, I got to cover that because sometimes we've got people in the UK that are watching.
And Greece. Remember Greece.
Sorry, Greece. You can go right on there. There's a tab on there that says how it works, and it just walks you through step by step how to do that. So this is primarily where I have my clients run all the things that I just mentioned, not a DEXA scan, but your labs, your starter labs. So on the website, they've got, I just realized I need to add another one on there. Vitamin D. Okay. Vitamin D, add that to the list as well. So on ownyourlabs.com, there's what's called the Basics Bundle, and that actually covers most of the things that I just mentioned. You'll also need to add vitamin D separately as well. So vitamin D, forgot about that one. Very, very important for immune health, also in metabolic health as well too. So vitamin D, turns out there's receptors in every cell in the body. So we need it for everything the body does. Okay. So so ownyourlabs.com, Basics Bundle plus vitamin D is what I have my clients start with. And the DEXA scan though, basically you're just going to Google DEXA body analysis near me and find a place. I don't have one centralized place that I recommend for people to go to that. DEXA, DEXA. Sometimes there's like mobile vans that do it. Sometimes there's clinics or like gyms that may offer the service or something like that. Sometimes you can find a Groupon for it, like 2 or 3 sessions for, a low price or something like that. What I've seen is it's typically between $50 to $100 per scan. Very non-invasive. You go in fully clothed, you lay down on a bed. It's kind of like they do a human copy of you. There's just a scanner that doesn't even touch your body. Takes 5 minutes to scan. It is low dose radiation, low dose X-ray, extremely low dose though, less X-rays than you get actually flying in an airplane. Speaking about the stress of that, and they give you, depending on who does it, it's like a 10 or 14 page printout that they give you. It literally shows you the density of your bone mass, your muscle mass, your fat. It shows the fat where it is, whether it's that visceral fat that I was mentioning, that's the inside the body, the bad fat, or the subcutaneous fat, which is the other fat on the outside of the body. So the Blood pressure, you can probably go into any, your doctor. You can go into any, like a drugstore. They've got those free, take your blood pressure. But also, if you're somebody that's biohacking your own health, you want to get the best health possible, just buy your own blood pressure monitor. You can get one on Amazon. You can buy one at any drugstore. And blood pressure. That's another one. Your other your waist measurement, going to need a measuring tape for that. And the body fat percentage, the DEXA thing that I mentioned as well. There are some home scales that you can get that measure your body fat percentage. They're not going to be as accurate as the DEXA. So if you're not able to do a DEXA, that's another option, is the home version. Some gyms will do like the calipers where they pinch you, give you your fat percentage as well. And as far as your BMI, that's just a comparison of your height to your weight. And so most people have a way of measuring those at home as well. So those are my recommendations of things to measure to start with. And, look at those subjective measures as well. Like, will you kill somebody if you miss a meal? Does your blood sugar go up a lot after you eat a meal? The sensitivity and does it stay elevated for a long time? So those are the things that you're going to measure first as a baseline. And from there, the next thing I recommend then is for people that have, so any of those two sets of things. So your labs, your biometric measures, any of those are out of range, show that you have some metabolic dysfunction, you're unhealthy metabolically. And basically, if any of those things that I just mentioned are out of the normal range, you do have some healing that you could do metabolically. And again, listen to the medical disclaimer. I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm sharing some information, education here, what I do specifically with my clients. So after that, what I do for my clients is that I have them follow the 10 rules. And so if you missed those, if you're new to the show, go back and listen to episodes 1 through 10. Each episode, I cover a different one of those 10 rules. And that's exactly the 10 rules that I have my clients start with for maximum results. So to get into ketosis as fast as possible, get rid of cravings, maximize body fat loss in as short period of time as possible. So follow those for at least 60 days. And then we're going to reassess. We're going to get all the labs done again, take all the biometric measurements again, and see where you're at. Basically, repeat until you get to the point where all of those are in the healthy ranges. And they don't always correlate with how much fat's on your body, okay? So I've had one of my clients, she's been working with me about 11 months. She's lost really close to 70 pounds. She's still, by BMI range, she's still considered overweight, but all of her labs and everything else look perfect. And so that's a sign that her next step, which is carb testing, is that's where I'm having her go next, is let's bump you up 10 grams of carbs a day and see if everything still stays the same. It gives more variety of food choices. And also again, let's tie back to the original question is it safe and healthy to stay in ketosis forever? Well, it's not. The goal is not to stay at that low of carb forever if you don't have to. There's no benefit of staying there. And so we're going to see from there. So that's my final then. So basically repeat rules 1 through 10 until your labs and your biometrics look good. And then that's when you may want to consider doing some carb testing. And that's, I've had one of my clients, she's been at her goal weight for a year, and she's all of her labs look really good. And so she started doing some strategic blood glucose testing with certain foods. So her first test was with blueberries. She measured out a portion of blueberries, and they were only the equivalent of 17 total grams of carbs, which sounds like, oh, that should be keto friendly. But she found that she had a 20 to 30 point increase in her blood glucose from just that small. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like half a cup to 1 cup of blueberries, not very much. And so that shows that specific food for her is probably not going to be conducive to maintaining the good metabolic health that she's got. That doesn't mean there aren't other carb tests or other carbs that may work for her at this point, or that a total for the day of 30, 40, 60 grams of carbs may be fine for her. So Rob Wolf, in the back of his Wired to Eat book, he actually has a full, very strategic outline of how to do carb testing. And so if you get to that point where all your labs look great, your biometrics are in line with metabolic health, I would suggest following the protocol that he's got in the back of his book as a way of knowing more strategic about how to do that and trying different carbs. And know that not all carbs are going to affect everybody the same. So he talks about in that book about how they did testing with, one group, they gave them cookies and measure their blood sugar. And the other group, they gave them lentils and measure their blood sugar. And then what they found is that some people, the cookies raised their blood sugar and some of them it didn't. And some of them, the lentils raised their blood sugar and some didn't. And then they swapped the groups and they had different effects. And so, whereas lentils are so much fiber, it seems like it shouldn't raise your blood sugar, but for some people it does. So a lot of different things affect that too. So that's why it's important to test things for yourself and see what works for everybody or for yourself. It's also why trying to get metabolically healthy and why there's no one size fits all with the keto diet. This is why there's so much conflicting info. Everybody that comes to me and always says, why am I overwhelmed? Why is there so much information? Why does that thing say this? And why does it say this? Because are you getting a sense of the step-by-step process that it takes to actually get there? It's not as simple and easy as everybody wants it to be. So,
and what can be mind-blowing, Carole, is that there's such a fear around, following a keto protocol long-term, but we're totally comfortable with following a standard American diet. I mean, that's not working out so great for me. Yeah. It's migraine central. So, and I think the misinformation you were talking about and just kind of the overwhelming amount of information that's out there really can, it keeps people from being able to demystify it for themselves and be comfortable with something that works for them and improves their own metabolic health. So such cool stuff you brought up.
Thanks. Yeah. And it's part of, why it's not a quick fix, but also it's part of why my clients are getting better long-term results than other things they've tried, because I do work so closely with them, handhold through this whole process so that we can make sure that they get all this figured out. So, because most of the people I'm working with, they don't want to be a keto expert. They just want to do the other things in their life that they're passionate about. And, they'd rather go on and spend their time doing something else. So, all right. So, are there any other questions? Anything else I didn't cover there, or anything else you want to know about that topic? Anybody else watching, listening? Anybody
figure out the movie yet? I don't know why I'm thinking about that. That's not even.
Yeah. So I forgot. We promised to reveal the trivia. We have to. So say the quote again, Valorie.
So he holds up a Dixie cup and he says, "If you're going to spew into this." So anybody know the movie?
Erica guessed Bill and Ted's, which Valorie said was close.
It's the genre is close. I mean, you're in a similar area, but that's not it.
Does it have the word car in it? Is that the right one?
No, but there's a car. There's a cool scene with a car that's very quintessential to that movie. Okay. One more hint is that there might be someone named Garth in it.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
What we got?
Hasty got it.
There we go.
Yeah, Wayne's World.
Wayne's World. Exactly.
Nice. Oh, that's fun. Was that after he met the girl? Like he was like in love with the girl, and so he was going to throw up because
the foxy lady. Yeah, it was in that scene. Yeah.
Oh, and Hastings even knows who said it. It was Garth.
By Garth. Definitely Garth. Played by Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
Wayne's World.
Excellent.
Party time. Excellent.
Oh, I love that you were. I'm so glad you brought that up, because we would have closed out the show and not even looped in the trivia one. So good job.
I'm glad it popped back up in this noggin.
We've got Brandy Bob. We've got a new viewer here.
Hey,
welcome, Brandy. Yeah, Erica was very close. Very close.
You were close.
Nice job.
Correct genre and even timeline. Can I ask one more question, or are we almost out of time? What do you tell people? Because you'd mentioned earlier, hey, it can take 18, 24 months, even longer than that. What do you tell people who really kind of feel overwhelmed by that type of timeline, what's the encouraging word or phrase that you give to them to help them keep marching on?
So great question, right? Because our brain does not like to think about never, ever, or forever. And 18 to 24 months sounds like forever. And yes. So I recommend doing, I've started calling it like diet sprints. Okay. So you follow the 10 rules for a set period of time. Your brain likes to commit to, 30 days, 6 weeks, 60 days. Pick out a small chunk of time where you're going to I'm going to commit to this for this period of time. So it's kind of like you're training for a 5K, you're training for a marathon, or you've got, some event coming up where you're just like, I'm going to do this for this period of time. So make that commitment for that period of time and then give yourself a break. Now, taking a break doesn't mean like going off the rails or anything like that, but it just means kind of coasting. So for my 10 rules that I have people following for maximizing fat loss and metabolic healing, we cut out nuts and seeds. We also cut out all sweeteners. We cut out recipes because those are things that help us eat less naturally. And so during the rest periods, when you're not actively trying to heal, you're not actively trying to lose more body fat, take a break and experiment with some recipes. Maybe experiment with some sweeteners and see how those, keto-friendly sweeteners. Maybe you try to see if nuts and seeds have a place in your life. And just, I kind of think of it as like whitewater river rafting, where sometimes it's really intense and crazy. And occasionally there's some times where you're just coasting and enjoying the scenery and it's smooth sailing and it's beautiful. And so take those conscientious breaks, rest periods, and, that can be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever feels good to you, because the good news is that in those rest periods, you're still healing. You're not healing as fast as you were. You're probably not going to see any weight loss on the scale, but you're still maintaining changes that are going to have a really big impact on it. So you can still keep healing in the coasting periods. And it also gives you a psychological reset as well, but physiologically as well too. So if you're constantly eating, trying to minimize calorie intake, you're actually going to slow down your metabolism as well. So it's important to take those breaks so that you maintain, a robust metabolic rate of being able to burn enough calories, so that then when you go back into that concentrated, dieting sprint time, that you're going to be able to see more fat loss come off. So yeah, so chunk it, set chunks of time. That's the way your brain's going to be most on board, but it's also better for your body too. So.
I love that. I'm going to use that. Nobody wants rapids 24/7 for 2 solid years anyway. We need some of the gentle waters here and there too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this. I wish you had taught some of my classes in high school and college, because I feel like I'm learning a lot and I'm entertained at the same time. So I know everybody's loving this information from you, Carole.
Oh, good. I love that. Hopefully everybody here agrees as well. Well, I don't know if they'll have me at high schools or anything like that, but
yeah, maybe not high school. Maybe not high school.
Maybe, yeah, but you're right. But also, there's still, because we're still stuck in what we've been told the last 50 years about nutrition and health. And so even though this is documented, I've got a board certification in this, and we've got people that have been doing this work for decades that are healing people's bodies. It's still considered controversial just because we've been told that, like, oh, you need grains and healthy whole grains and fat's bad and salt's bad and all this stuff. And so it's hard for people to actually embrace that this can be true when they believe the other stuff to be true for so long. So they probably wouldn't let me into the schools, but yeah, I wish anybody who's a parent that's out there listening, cutting out sugar isn't going to hurt anyone. Cutting out refined carbohydrate junk food products, that never hurt anyone either. So, you can make changes early on, and it will make people's life a lot easier as they go into adulthood, because, as children, we're growing our adult body. That's what childhood is growing in our adult body. And so it's setting the foundation of the house you got to live in the rest of your life. So why not feed it healthfully? And I've seen that over and over again, is the children that have a very healthy, whole food nutrition most of their lives, they don't have as much metabolic struggles, overweight problems, chronic disease problems as other people that have had like more of a lax childhood where all these foods are fine, eat as much as you want. So let's see. Eric is sharing that Val nailed it. You really provide a ton of information in a conversational way that makes it easy to digest. Ha ha! She made a joke too. That's great. Bite-sized pieces. Thanks, Erica. I'm so glad you found your way here. So thanks, YouTube, for telling Erica about us today. So, I'm
really excited about what might be coming up next. Do you do sneak peeks? Can you tell us what you're talking about next week?
Kind of a little bit. So we go intention every week, the same time Thursday. We're going live YouTube and my Facebook page. I think today, just because I had a hiccup with my internet, we're not actually live on Facebook right now. Maybe, I don't know. Oh no, we've got somebody in the Facebook group that's watching us live right now. So we did make it there. Cool. So yeah, we've got a Facebook group, my Facebook page, and also on YouTube we're live. But also we take the episodes and turn them into audio only on podcasts as well. So some of you might be listening there. And I think that's where our Greek people are listening, is the audio only version. So you can find that on any platform that you listen to podcasts. We're out on all of them. And so you can go back. This is episode number 21. So we've got 20 other episodes you can go back and listen to as well. So please feel free to do that. So listen live, recorded, either way that fits your life is great. Next week, I'm going to be starting a 3-part series. And so over the next 3 weeks, I'll be doing this 3-part series on how to make keto sustainable. And so part 1 is next week. I'm going to be giving you all of the things that you need to know in order, because that's one of the biggest things people struggle with is how do I stay low carb in a carb world where there's everywhere. So yeah, stay tuned next week. That's what we're going to be starting next week. As a reminder, today we talked about the real goal of keto, aka is it safe to stay in keto forever? So Valorie, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
I love the trivia. That was so great too. Thanks for sharing your experiments you've been doing. Thank you to everyone for watching, listening. Sharing is caring. So share this podcast with your friends. Share the live stream. Tell everyone else you know, because remember, help us grow and we'll help you shrink. All right. That's it. Bye, everyone. Come back again next time. We'll see you soon.